Hey guys, so this is a little video that is going to summarize what a lot of you guys need to improve on, specifically for my grading of paper 2. And then I'm also going to go into the PowerPoint that I uploaded. It should be up today, April 6th, for my assignment 3, which is due April 29th after spring break. So, and then you'll see how it relates to assignment number 4, which I gave you a little hint to what it's going to be, so you can start thinking about that too. I don't want to throw too much at you guys at once because I feel like that might be too, just overwhelming right now, but better to, I guess, be prepared. All right, so I'm starting from this assignment 3 PowerPoint, which I have listed as you needing to have read and use 2 topics from either chapters 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to get into the questions. So I am moving. So chapter 5, 6, 7, 8 this week is week 11. By tomorrow, Tuesday, April 7th, you should have already read chapter 8, done the discussion board post that is due on chapter 8, and then my lecture on chapter 8, marriage cohabitation, will go up at 6 o'clock. And then that will be the last lecture that you have to comment on before, during spring break, before we then have our big comeback date of 2 chapters being due. All right, so assignment number 3, the usual 25 points, 2-page minimum, 4-page maximum. I've moved on to slide 2. The same as what you did for paper 2, an electronic copy, a PDF, or a Word file on Blackboard. And the discussion board posts upload link that I put. Get off the table, my cat. So this is something that's new that wasn't on your other paper. So I know I'm going to get a bunch of questions about this. I don't like when the screen is in my glasses like that. I'm just taking my glasses off, actually. All right. So this is going to be different from what you've done before, obviously, because for this paper, what I like to do is have you guys bring your hard copy to class, and then bring your hard copy to class. I feel like my daughter's gonna be walking in any minute. Bring your hard copy to class, and then exchange with a student, do like an in-class peer review, and then have your classmate comment and edit and be like, do this. I agree with you. I disagree. Improve this part. So I like to do that for paper 3, and then have you guys use those comments and edits or whatever for paper 4. But since we're not going to have the opportunity, I'm going to basically just mandate that so there's some kind of peer reviewing of each other's papers, commenting on someone else's paper that's going to be uploaded on the discussion board link. I know I'm going to have students, there's students that people, they're going to upload papers and the paper, again, is due the 29th of April, but by the end of the day. I figured I was going to do just like 6 o'clock, like discussion board post, because the discussion board post is still going to be due as usual. But I realized like papers, if you miss class, I accept it before 12 o'clock anyway. So why not just give you those extra few hours? So that's what I'm doing. So I know there's going to be people that are going to like submit something at like 11:30 p.m. and then it might not give you enough time to read someone else's paper thoroughly and then comment back thoroughly. So I'm going to give you like just give you the whole next day to read and comment on someone else's paper, especially because there are going to be people who are going to just be uploading things late. So there. So it's part of your little like 5-point part of the guidelines. I'm not giving like a word minimum or anything, but I just want, I want you guys to read someone else's paper and thoroughly give just some kind of feedback. I can tell when it's like some bullcrap feedback that you're just like giving to get, oh, great, excuse me, like, great job. I really, I think you're a great writer. Okay. I want something like, I agree with you when it comes to this, but maybe, next time think of, something a little bit more in depth. So that's what I'm looking for. And I also asked for you to comment on someone else's paper that hasn't been commented on yet, But, again, that might be hard for people who are, uploading first, or, or the people who are uploading last. And then, there's everybody's written on. So just try your best. You just, read somebody's paper, which hasn't been commented on yet. Thoroughly read it, give some kind of feedback that will be substantial. All right, so still on slide 2. The general overall question that you're answering is what is discussed in chapter 5, 6, 7, or 8, which shows the positives / successful side of the family institution, what shows the negatives / failures of it. Moving on to slide 3, more specific. Pick 2 topics from chapters 5 through 8. Pick one which can be used as an example of why the family institution is or has been successful and or is positive. Good side. So for anyone who works in a law firm, when you list multiple things and then you don't want to keep repeating the multiple things throughout whatever your motion or something that you're writing, you'll kind of you putting in parentheses and then the quotation is kind of saying from here on, me saying this represents all this. So that's what I'm doing here. So in the next upcoming instructions, when I'm use an example of the good side, I'm meaning something that's successful or positive. So then the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want to keep saying good side of the family, good side of the family. And then I get a bunch of papers out just well, the good thing about family, and that sounds so, it just doesn't sound like, a college level discussion of you making some kind of argument about something being beneficial or successful or positive or influential. I'm just putting this as the good side for the purposes of the instructions of this, me assigning it to you guys. But please don't write a full paper just saying the good thing about family, good. Find a better, use a thesaurus. All right, so let me start again. So pick one which can be used as an example as to why the family institution is successful and or is positive, and another which can show how the family can be a failure and or the negative, bad side of the family institution. So that's kind of the general question, what you're going to be doing. Moving on to slide 4. These are the more specific breakdown instructions of what I'm going to be looking for you to get your nice little 25 points from this paper. All right. So similar to a lot of my papers that I assigned to you, there's 2. I'm giving you guys a lot of freedom. I'm not being very specific, use something from chapter 5. I'm letting you pick 2 things from 4 chapters that we read, not 2 from each chapter, 2 similar to paper 2 from all these chapters. And it can be it can be a theory, it can be a different from paper 2, because paper 2 was policy implemented by the American government, which I was gonna get into about some of the mistakes with that was right. So paper 2, I wanted to focus on the effect the American government has had on families, right? This is more focusing on something that's been discussed, anything that was discussed in the chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, that gives some kind of point of view of it being a positive institution or a negative institution and how. So we're going to have an example of that. So I put kind of / topics, controversies, theories, definitions, events, etc. from 5 through 8. One which shows the good side of the family institution, and a second which shows the bad, and this is worth 5 points. So what's worth is 5 points is I'll basically see, all right, did they pick something that they refer to as good, and did they pick something that referred to as bad? Did they explain it? Which, here. So cite properly so I know which chapters you chose to focus on. 2 topics out of all 4 chapters combined, not 2 from each. And whatever you choose, explain it and introduce it and explain it briefly. So I have an example coming up of how you can do that. Assignment number 3, instructions, the second part. Explain your definition, point of view of what is good and bad when it comes to the family institution. So again, I have this term of good and bad, but reflecting what I wrote earlier, right? Of this institution of the family, of it being successful, of it being positive, versus it being a failure and it being negative in some type of way. What the hell do you mean by being positive? What the hell do you mean by being successful? Whatever you want. That's kind of the beauty of what I'm doing. It's like, whatever you want. Do you consider a family that is, families that are becoming more diverse and having more and more, gay marriages and interracial marriages, and, the fact that women are just able to get divorced whenever they want? Do you see that as a failure of larger society? Do you feel as if the family value should be, the old school family value should be honored more, and that we should keep things back to how it used to be? And then, it kind of brings you back to what was discussed in chapter 2. Or do you think that, these constant changes and the social change and the diversity of families reflects a larger, more positive change, that the family is just now reflecting society, which is constantly changing, right? This is just one thing that I'm kind of coming to the end of. Do you define family being good or bad by its reflection of society or of its changing of society? Another way you can look at family being good or bad is, does family create good behavior? Is it bad when you grow up in a family that is homophobic and you therefore now grow up with homophobic beliefs? Is it bad when you grow up in a family that is extremely racist and now you grow up with a family of, you grow up with racist beliefs? Or I guess more opposite side of family being having some kind of positive impact is certain traits that come with, and this is what I get into in my example in chapter 4. And these are chapters that you're not picking from. I'm just picking from examples of other things we've learned about. We learned that there were differences between how rich people raise their children and how poor people raise their children. So, this could be an example of how the family as an institution is successful because your children are a reflection of the parents. So this just shows that if your parents are going to be successful, the family as an institution is successful because it repeats behaviors generationally. So, I'm just basically letting you guys define good and bad, success and failures, however you want, and pick whatever you want out of any of these chapters to kind of give me that point of view. For the next paper, you're going to get a little bit more specific and you'll see why. So that's why I put here, hint, think about conflict and consensus perspective. You're not mandatory to write about that. It's just a kind of a hint, right? You think about what these two perspectives said when it came to what's a good family and what's a bad family, right? So that's just like an example. So, right, you would say, if you're someone who's for gay marriage, you would be like, yeah, well, gay marriage is good. It's good that families are changing, so forth. Versus somebody on the other spectrum that would say this is actually horrible and it's a abomination, etc. So make it clear not only what side you are on, but also what, how, and why are you defining the good and the bad? Is it the effect on society, individual, family as a union? Be specific and do not write in the first person. So you'll see in the example that I have coming up of a little like sample paper I wrote that I'm able to express my opinion many of times without saying I believe and I think, right? And when you're doing some kind of sociological research and when you are, you read one thing and then you read a statistic about another, and then in your head, when you read all these different things, you reach some kind of conclusion, right? That supports something that you believe, right? You don't have to say that I believe. If anything, you saying I believe, it weakens what you're arguing. So you'll see that with like the paper that I'm writing. I'll give you an example. If you're just saying like family is, so when you're saying this part in this paper, if you're saying the family unit is only successful when there is financial gain being spread amongst all the members of the family, and these financial gains are then repeated throughout generations to come, right? That's like a stern statement. Like, I think family is successful when there is financial gain, versus saying, I believe when the family is I believe the family is only successful when, and blah, blah, blah. You're just adding that I believe in the beginning of it, just kind of weakens your point, because you're just saying, is it like you believe it, right? After you say some kind of research or whatever it is that you looked up that leads to that point, then that's strong enough to just stand as a fact in your paper that this is what I think, without saying I think. So whatever. So you'll see what I'm talking about, the example that I give. So 3 is, I'm just saying that because of a lot of people still, for the last paper, which is like, I believe this, I think this, and I just always cross that out because I don't want to hear what you think. I want you to read something and then give me a paper that gives me some kind of final analysis based on what you read, and not just saying I think, I believe. Assignment number 3, instructions, the third part. Explain how and why example 1 shows the good side of the family as an institution, and how example 2 shows the bad. So, and again, when you're discussing about the family in this paper, you're going to be referring to it as an institution. And I hope that my little sample that I give you guys in this PowerPoint helps a lot of people, because I still have students that are confused about the arenas. And I mean, I can do another lecture if you want, if you need me to do another lecture video explaining the 3 arenas, or you just have to reread chapter 1, because chapter 1 is the one that explains it the most. I don't, as the chart, I had you guys fill it out with your own examples. Paper 2, you had to write about it. A lot of students just seem to be getting it, and I don't, and there's just like a very few that aren't, and I don't know why, honestly. But I mean, I'll go over it again, because you're gonna have to refer to the family institution in this paper as an institutional arena, right? As a place where there are interactions and where there are rules that are different from other places, right? As a place that things are taking place, which is is the family, right? I mean, that's how we've been defining it. Again, my example coming up will explain that. We'll show you an example more. And then finally, the usual guidelines. APA style, the font, page numbers, margins, no first person. Cohen is mandatory. Oh, shoot, I moved this PowerPoint. And then commenting on other parents' students' paper is mandatory. So I did this. So let me just, for this part, actually, I'll just wait for the paper assignment 2 kind of explanation at the end. All right, so, and then slide 8 is me repeating what I just said. So the main question, and then the 4 things you're going to be doing. So slide 9. So what I like to do is I usually give you guys examples of how to do the paper with like an outline type thing. But what I did for this was write an example of assignment number 3 using chapters that are not available for you to write in this chapter. So you can't copy this word for word. Number one, I wrote this, so you're not gonna copy it word for word without me knowing, period. But I gave this example, so I don't want to read it word for word, but I do want to read this part out loud with the intro, which goes into the whole arena thing. All right, so I'm Professor Rodriguez, but I am writing this as I am a student, Giovanni Rodriguez, and this is my intro to a paper that I'm writing, to assignment number 3. The family as an institutional arena has been explained by Cohen, 2018, as the social space where individuals practice intimacy, childbearing, socialization, and caring work. And again, this is on page 13 of chapter 1. This is the proper way you cite something like that. Okay. In contrast to the state arena, which is where citizens follow laws implemented by the government, and the market arena, where employees exchange labor for pay, the family arena's rules of interaction may be unclear. The family arena is a social space where what is considered normal, wrong, or right is constantly changing because of historical context, culture, religion, government interference, and extreme inequalities involving gender and race. Nonetheless, the family institution is one which has been the subject of scrutiny, specifically regarding what is considered a successful family and what type of family is considered a failure. So I mean, boom, something like this, like the perfect intro to me, because it shows me that you know exactly what you're getting straight to the point, right? It's not like in The Family, Diversity and Equality and Social Change by Philip Cohen of 2018, which is an amazing textbook, which has very interesting points of views about the family. It's like, why are you saying I don't just get to the point. Just answer, just get straight to it. I don't need like an academic review of how amazing the book is. And you don't have to keep reiterating the entire book. But you know, and so so that's what I'm trying to get to. So you're introing, and then you're saying other things that are showing you understand other contexts about what we learned about family, state, arena. So I hope that this paragraph, I did it like this so it will kind of um help you see what I mean by with the family arena and the state and the market. So again, institutional arenas, we learned about three of them. Social spaces where there are different people holding different roles and following different rules of interactions. We've learned about three of them. The family, where you practice intimacies, childbearing, socialization. The market arena, right? Jobs. You're an employee. Well, you're either an employer or you're an employee, or you're a person who's consuming from a corporation or something, right? And then the state, which is the government. And a lot of times these interact in many different ways. I wanted you to write about these in paper too. And a lot of people just completely skipped over that, and you automatically got 5 points off. All right, so this is me kind of combining the second and third parts. How you want to do it is up to you, but this is me using social mobility as an example as to why the family institution can be a failure, and then familialism as an example as to why the family institution can be a success. And then I explained that I am defining something as a failure, as a success. On the next slide, when I explain that one way to categorize an institutional arena, such as a family, as a success or as a failure, is the effects it has on its members. That's it. That's it. I mean, so how do you consider a family when you say, wow, that's a bad family? How do you consider that? Is it because they're gay and you don't believe in gay marriage? Is it because their son is a violent asshole and he's putting society at risk? Is it because the daughter is rude and she's setting a bad example? How do you define a bad family, right? So, and again, in better ways, unsuccessful family, a failed family. How do you define that? That's it. I'm like leaving it up to you to find a way to put this, your own personal beliefs about a successful family and a bad family, in a sociological paper that's using Cohen. I hope that's a little bit more clear. I'm saying here, one way, like I said, to define the success or failure is the effects it has on the members of the family, right? So I see family as being a success, not so much how other people see you or as your effect on other people, but how my family raised me, how that affects me personally, right? So it's just like kind of what I'm saying. And I use social mobility as an example of a failure because it's something that affects different people differently. And people who are unable to use social mobility as favorably as others, there in the long run can be in some kind of negative space, right? If your parents are poor, then you will probably have a hard time not staying poor, right? This is what I'm saying. And then I read about familialism, how it's a more positive reaction to something as negative as immigration reform. Well, not negative, but you get what I'm saying. So that's this. So read this on your own time, and then I hope that it helps. And then my conclusion is like a little, just conclusion. So, don't read this and then be like, okay, this is ridiculous. She's a professor and this bar is set way too high. I get that. I just wanted to write it in a way that it's like, oh, I get it, what she means now. Right. So like, just how do you think a family is a success and a failure? And use something from these chapters to present that point. So I hope that this clears it up a little bit more. So I'm on slide 13, so I am repeating just the questions again. So then what I do from slides 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh no, I'm sorry. So what I did from slides, where am I? 14, 15, 16, and 17 was list some topics from these chapters that you can choose from. So if you're feeling like this sounds like it's going to be repetitive from chapter 2, from paper 2, I mean, it can be in terms of you're able to pick something such as a policy that was implemented from the government, but instead of focusing on how is the government affecting the family, you're reaching this general conclusion of how whatever it is that you choose reflects this idea of the family being a success and a failure. So it's not, so like paper 2 was very specific where I was like, it has to be the American government. It has to be something that the American government did, implemented, right? It has to be something like that. Where this is like, whatever it is that was from these chapters, right? You can write about. So, so I list like a lot of things to pick from. I'm not going to give specific examples from these. So, I can't only do so much from writing the actual paper for you, and I actually did that. And so if you have any questions about these things, and then chapter 8 we're going over this week. And that's it. So, little hints if you're wondering where the hell this quote is coming from. So what this paper is doing is preparing you for paper 4. So you remember the very first day of class, I asked you guys, is the family an outdated institution out of place in modern society, perpetuating inequality and irrational ideas, or is it a haven in a heartless world? So if anybody remembers me asking you guys that, everybody was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, don't worry, by the time the class ends, you should get it. Hopefully you do. But a lot of throughout this whole semester, we learned about different things and different definitions and different historical events, from all the way from the ERA to different situations involving race specifically, gender, etc. And a lot of times the family was used as this example of an area that reflected things that were going wrong out in society. But also other times the family was reflected as a place that protected you from things that were wrong in society. So if you remember when we're talking about specifically with African American population and how when they were going through slavery, although they were separated from each other, etc., it also created this, resilience amongst African American women, and being strong female households, right? So that's kind of an example of a family being a haven in a heartless world, versus the family having this patriarchal system where the man's always in charge, and then that's kind of put down on the son, and the daughter is always being controlled, right? That's kind of an example of the family perpetuating an inequality that is reflected in the outside world. So, that's basically what this question is saying, is whether or not you think that the family is one or the other. So that's what I want you guys to kind of come to a conclusion of with the ending of this class, is how do you view the family? So do you view the family as this outdated institution that requires some kind of change? Is there no way to just have one type of family? And does it just recreate inequalities that are out in society? Does it recreate the irrational idea that we're all supposed to just fall in love and have babies and have this life to find my family? Or is it a haven in a heartless world, right? Is it a place where we find love and protection from other things? So again, this is paper 4. Don't stress out about it. I just wanted to put it out there because this paper is kind of supposed to be tweaking your ideas about what it is, what side you're leaning on. Because this is going to be a point where I'm going to say, pick a side, and also like make some kind of suggestion on how to improve where you think needs to be an improvement. And then just know that for this paper, moving on to slide 20, you're going to have to use chapters 9, 10, 11, 12, similar to what I do for the other ones. So that's it. And then for slides 21 and 22, I left these slides open for you. So maybe if you wanted, as you're doing the next few readings for the next whatever, if you want to start taking notes on examples of each category. But again, I don't want to, so I'm on the final slide here, 23. Of 3 is the general question of the positive, successful side of the family institution. And then 4, the question that you're going to be answering there. All right, so any questions about that? I'm going to finish this video because I don't want to deal with issues that I dealt with the other one. And actually, this isn't as urgent as the lecture one, so I'm just gonna keep going. It'll eventually get uploaded. All right, so I just want to remind you guys, we'll leave it at 30 minutes, paper 2. All right, so just a few things I want to bring up from what was repeatedly wrong in certain people's paper for assignment 2. All right, number 1. Now that I'm getting your assignment as, actually, you know what I want to do? I am going to stop this now, and then I'm going to re-upload so this can upload while this is happening. All right. So ending of assignment 3, review and prep.